So, as many of you guys already know, recently in the trauma system, stopped in at the emergency room, nearby town, city, because yesterday, about 24 hours ago, I was bit by a venomous snake. I was bit by a cottonmouth, the water moccasin, and where I was bit was actually right here. I was probably standing right about here when I was bit. The reason I was bit is that I was filming and photographing some venomous snakes and non-venomous snakes for an upcoming project. And a lot of times, to help me handle them, what I'll use is like short little barbecue tongs. That's not the best idea. I've done it a lot with dozens of snakes, worked out rather well, but this time I grabbed the snake too far back on the body, and I had that 8-inch strike range of those barbecue tongs hit me right here in the thumb. So if you look at these two thumbs right now, you're going to see that this one is kind of twice the size of the other one, and I think actually the range of motion right now after 24 hours is better than it was last night. So 12 hours ago I couldn't move it this much. Okay, this hand, if you look at it, it is swollen up, it is fat. I kind of almost don't have a wrist. So it's kind of interesting. And then we were mapping after about, I got bit. I processed that. About a half hour later, the thumb and the forefinger were swollen. About an hour later, those two were swollen. By the time I was in the hospital after about 2 hours, it was swollen all the way across here, and then it kind of progressed since there. Last night it was down still in my forearm, and then this morning it actually progressed up past to about here on my lower end of my bicep. So all this is very swollen, very flat, very inflamed. I mean, it's kind of like if you blew up a surgical glove, just the max capacity without stretching it, really, just filling the air of it. That's kind of what this looks like right now. So definitely learned a few things. And then a lot of people have been asking kind of about the whole anti-venom thing and everything else too. I explained this in a previous video, but I'm just going to go over a little bit of it in case people didn't see that. And actually this is still, I think, a blood spot from right where one of the fangs went in. That little dark spot there, and it's a little green and discolored from plantain. I chewed up some plantain leaves and put it on there right away. I could have tried to suck some of the venom out right away. I didn't. It was an option I had. I didn't choose to do that. And a couple things probably happened with this bite. Number one, it was a smaller snake, about that long. They get a lot bigger. I've met a lot bigger. Number two, it was just bam. It just hit me. I mean, I was bit by a plain-bellied or midland water snake. I forget which one of the two it was yesterday in this thumb. And I mean, that thing bit on, and it was gnawing on it. It was digging down into it. It was a lot more painful of a bite initially. The shape of its head a minute ago was just actually, yep, it was showing an open mouth. So you can see that one's a lot less chill than the first one. Ouch. He's actually digging in pretty good. Ouch! That's a good one. Ouch. Let go, buddy. But the water moccasin just gave me a quick tag, and it didn't really hit me that hard. At first I'm like, whoa, did that even really happen? I'm like, okay, yeah, I kind of feel it happened. And so after a little bit of thinking, a little bit of quick online research, a little bit of stuff, we decided to go to the emergency room. At the emergency room, they did some blood work. They saw how the swelling was progressing. The swelling wasn't going crazy. There wasn't really any bruising around here. And as far as my pain level, and then me, like, I wasn't dizzy, I wasn't lightheaded, I wasn't nauseous. So they actually recommended that I not even go the route of antivenom. Now, antivenom is made from a couple different snake venoms usually. Stuff you'll find in the area. So here it's probably going to be some rattlesnakes, add some copperhead, and then add some cottonmouth in there, and they kind of make this antivenom, and what it does is it gives your body a boost as if you were kind of used to already dealing with that situation, if your immune system was already used to it. My immune system's not. I believe I was envenomated once where I had some venom leak into an open wound from a copperhead I caught that was just kind of dripping from the fangs with its venom. And then later I'm like, oh man, that really hurts. Like, oh, I bet you that's what happened. So I may have been exposed to venom before, but that's about it. This was my first, actual venomous snake bite. But just kind of wanted to at least give you guys an update. I would definitely recommend, you know, going to the hospital, checking things out, getting a second opinion. If it would have been, you know, copperhead, I may have just chosen to stay home. That's not something I recommend others do, but it's a choice, you know, people do make, and I probably would have just chosen to stay home myself since it was a water moccasin. I chose to go in, and you know, I sat there about 3 hours. You know, eventually you wind up in some dark room, in the emergency room, and you think to yourself,
Maybe that wasn't such a good idea.
and I agree, you know, it wasn't a good idea to mess with that, but I did get a second opinion on it. They decided that I was doing pretty well. I'm monitoring it, making sure that the blood flow maintains, you know, coming through, because if this swells up too tight, the blood won't be able to get through. It won't be able to kind of replenish the fresh blood up here, and my fingers or my hand could be lost. I'm happy with the way things are going. I did actually sleep for off and on, but almost 12 hours last night. Really good. Just to rest, and the pain is a lot less. So just kind of for the sake of disclosure, for the sake of kind of letting you guys learn from my mistake, and just kind of, I know some of you guys out there are concerned, probably concerned about me anyway sometimes, but yeah, that's where we're at, that's what we're up to. So the day in so far, looking good, and I probably won't do like daily updates or whatever, but once this is done, we'll see if there's any, you know, permanent damage or not, because that's a potential. So I appreciate your guys' thoughts and prayers, appreciate your concern. You know, I do have a job here to do as the husband of my wife and the father to my children. I've got a lot of plans for the future. I don't want to give those all up just for some dumb death accidentally. You know, I knew the parameters in which I was working. I knew the potentials of what could happen. I found out what did happen in this case, and despite it being a negative thing, it looks like it's going to work out good, and a good learning experience for me, but then also kind of some of you guys. And remember, most people get bit by snakes when they're catching them or killing them. Okay? So a lot of people, oh no, that snake's really dangerous, and they come over and they try to kill it, and then they get bit, and they say, oh, see, I told you it was dangerous. They would just stood still, it could have left, and, you know, life could have went on. So, alright guys, I'll check you next time. Papa out.